Dear students, we have learned about the structure of human ear and also about the physiological mechanism of hearing in the previous classes. Today we are going to see how we are able to discriminate the pitch or the frequency of sound. We know that sound is propagated in the form of waves and each wave makes a sound cycle. A single sound wave is formed of a peak and a trough. Several such sound waves reach our ear and we are able to hear the sound. We have learned about two properties of sound that are playing important roles in the hearing mechanism. They are the frequency and amplitude. Frequency means the number of sound cycles or sound waves per second. It is measured in terms of hertz. As you see here, low frequency sound has less number of sound waves and high frequency sound has more number of sound waves. We perceive frequency of sound as pitch. We experience low frequency sound as low pitch and high frequency sound as high pitch. Today we will study how we are able to discriminate the different pitch of sound or frequency of sound. As I told, we perceive frequency as pitch. And what is meant by pitch? Pitch is an auditory experience in which we distinguish high sound and low sound. And it is because of pitch that we are able to differentiate between the voices from different sources and the voices of different persons. The sound of a bass drum is an example for low pitch or low frequency sound. Then the deep voice of a man is also a low frequency or low pitch sound. The sound of a whistle or horn is of high frequency or high pitch. And the voice of children is usually of high frequency or high pitch, especially when they are making a lot of noise. Now let us come to the point how we are able to discriminate the auditory frequency or pitch. There are two theories which explain this. They are place theory and volley theory. We will see about these one by one. First, let us think about place theory. According to place theory, the pitch of sound depends on which portion of the basilar membrane and organ of Corti are stimulated. So pitch is encoded in the physical location of the hair cells. You know that hair cells are the sensory cells in organ of Corti. They are stimulated to produce neural signals which are then carried to the brain. These hair cells are arranged on a membrane called basilar membrane or basement membrane. You know that the cochlea or the inner ear is having a broad base and a narrow apex. The hair cells which are located at the base of cochlea respond specifically to high frequency sound and it is perceived as high pitch. The hair cells located at the apex portion of the cochlea respond to low frequency sound and it is perceived as low pitch. This picture makes it more clear. The base of cochlea is responding to high frequency sound and the apex of cochlea is responding to low frequency sound. The hair cells located in between the base and apex of cochlea are arranged in the decreasing order of sound frequency to which they respond. So here we see that we are able to discriminate the frequency or pitch of sound based on the physical location of stimulated hair cells in organ of Corti. This is place theory. Next, let us see about volley theory. The term volley means simultaneous discharge. Here we understand that several neurons are discharged simultaneously to a particular frequency of sound. According to volley principle, the frequency or pitch of sound is determined by the frequency with which hair cells produce action potentials. For example, a sound with a frequency of 500 Hz may cause the neurons to fire 500 action potentials per second. We know that frequency is the number of waves per second. So 500 Hz means 500 sound waves per second. These 500 sound waves cause the firing of 500 action potentials by the hair cells. These 500 action potentials are not elicited by a single hair cell. Then how 500 action potentials can be fired? Let us think about this. Here you can see 12 sound waves. For each sound wave, a different hair cell is firing action potential, and the total response is produced by the cumulative effect of all the neurons. When a high frequency sound is experienced too frequently, it will be difficult for a single neuron to process these stimuli and fire action potentials for each sound wave. Hence, multiple stimuli are combined into a volley in order to process the sound. The next important concept in volley theory is that firing of action potentials is phase locked to the stimulus. To understand this point, first we have to understand what is meant by phase. Phase specifies the location or timing of a point within a wave cycle of a repetitive waveform. Here you can see the wave is repeated, and phase can be the location of any point or the timing of any point within the wave cycle. The sound is in the form of wave, and firing of action potential can also be considered as waveform. If any location or timing in the wave of sound comes together with the wave of action potential, they are said to be in phase or phase locked. Here you can see the peaks of two waves are coming together and the troughs are also coming together. So they are in phase or phase locked. Now coming to the point of volley principle, firing of action potentials is phase locked to the stimulus. That means neurons fire in synchrony with the phase of a stimulus. The firing of neurons occur at a particular portion of the sound cycle. This phase-locked firing of action potential is not done by a single cell alone. A bunch of phase-locked neurons fire simultaneously and produce a burst of activity at each peak of the sound cycle. Here you can see the response of individual cells and the total or cumulative response of the cells. It is very clear that the frequency of the sound is exactly copied in the frequency of action potentials or the firing pattern of action potentials. Thus, we understand that the firing pattern or the timing of firing of action potential helps us in discriminating the frequency or pitch of sound. This is volley principle. Then comes the question, how do we discriminate pitch? According to place theory or volley theory. In practice, we see that both the encoding systems are helping in discriminating pitch. We discriminate pitch based on the physical location of excited hair cells and also based on the timing or the pattern of firing of action potentials by the hair cell. Thank you.